I learned that my fiancé only proposed to me because he felt obligated to. My fiancé and I are both 20. We have a 3-year-old daughter together. Our relationship started off as just a fling, but after I found out I was pregnant, we decided to try and make it work. My fiancé is a very responsible guy who has a strong moral compass. He's honest, hardworking, reliable, a no-nonsense kind of man. My best friend always said that he reminds her of Ron Swanson from the TV show Parks and Rec. Last month he proposed to me. He didn't get down on his knees or anything, just asked me to marry him, and apologized for not asking me sooner. He wanted to find a stable job first, he said. I said yes. We planned on getting married in February, just a small ceremony with our immediate family. I love him very much, but deep down I've always had the sneaking suspicion that he loves me but isn't in love with me. He treats me so well, but more like a friend than anything. He says I love you maybe once or twice a month, and we aren't really intimate with each other, again just once or twice a month. He kisses me but mostly on the forehead, and when we are together in public he doesn't tend to hold my hand unless I hold his first. Another element is, he is very close to his childhood best friend, 19F. They were neighbors as kids and extremely close. Then she moved away when she was 14. They still keep in touch and meet up several times a year. He has confessed to me before that he was pretty obsessed with her and was distraught when she moved away. I never felt too comfortable with her being in our lives for this reason, but he insisted on making her our daughter's godmother. Yesterday after dinner I put our girl to sleep and asked him to help me decide something for the wedding. He said, "I'll leave it up to you." He has barely been involved in the planning of the wedding and it's been really annoying me. I told him I feel like he doesn't even want to marry me. We got into a fight and I asked him why he even proposed. He exclaimed, "Because it's the right thing to do." Told him to be honest with me and asked him if he was in love with me. He avoided the question and said something about wanting to raise our daughter together. When I repeated the question he finally responded, "I really care for you." But he didn't say he loved me. Then he said, "I just wanted to do the right thing." Thought that's what you wanted. I told him what I want is someone who is truly in love with me and who looks at me like I'm the only person in the world. I told him I can't be married to someone who sees me as just a friend. He got quiet and apologized for hurting me. He said he was afraid that if we broke up he wouldn't be able to see our daughter again. I told him even if we aren't together he can still see her and be in her life. He stayed the night at his co-worker's house. Called my mother and told her everything. I told her that I want to break up with him because he doesn't love me. She sympathized at first but then called me too idealistic. She said that I need to stop reading into the Hollywood fantasy of soulmates and true love and understand that a truly successful marriage is built on mutual respect and compromise. She says that romantic love always fades in a marriage but respect never will. My mother says that I'm lucky to have a man who is so responsible and such a good father. She says that men like him these days are 1 in a million, and tells me I shouldn't give him up just because he's not head over heels in love with me. He's a hard worker, responsible, a good dad, and handsome to boot. What more do you want? Those were her exact words to me. Before my decision seemed so clear, now it is not. I'm really at a crossroads right now and would love any advice, maybe from people who have been in this situation. Too long didn't read. My fiancé admitted that he proposed to me because it was the right thing to do, not because he's in love with me. You will be far happier setting up a co-parenting/friend relationship with this guy and holding out for a man who loves you the way you deserve to be loved. Either of you are bad people or did anything wrong, but you aren't right for each other as partners. There is someone so much better for you out there, and if you tie yourself to this guy under these circumstances you will not only never find the right guy for you, you and this guy will end up hating each other because he doesn't want to be with you, and you know that. Resentment on both sides will build until it destroys every good feeling between you. No, it's not being idealistic. Life gets harder as you get older. He is young now, you both are. I admire his sense of responsibility, but when you are 10 or 20 years down the road you need to be able to draw on the reservoir of love that you've built up over the years. If it's not there to begin with you won't have any material to paper over the cracks with later. Also, what happens when you both meet other folks that you do have that connection with? Maybe your mum is hoping that love will grow, and it can sometimes, but I wouldn't like to hang my future on the hope that he might love you someday. Dude already knows that he doesn't 3 years later. The best thing would be an amicable split. Be civil, have joint access to the kid. Be kind to each other, and to yourself by giving yourself the opportunity to find the guy who thinks the sun rises and sets on you. Good luck. If you marry him, this won't last. He's doing all of this out of a sense of duty. Maybe he stays until your kid is 18. Maybe he leaves before then, but it won't last. Better to rip the band-aid off now. You have the right instincts. Don't stay with someone who isn't 100% in your relationship. You deserve better. He sounds like a good guy. He didn't want to hurt you or not be there for your child. But he didn't propose for the right reasons. Honestly, it sounds like you two are better suited to be kick-ass co-parents. You're both level-headed people who are able to prioritize the needs of your daughter. Don't let your romantic relationship not working out sour your co-parenting relationship. I'm sure that you're hurt right now, but ending your romantic relationship with him will likely be better for you in the long run. Partner shouldn't be a warm body with a list of qualifications. You deserve to be with someone who is undoubtedly in love with you. The next 18 years of your life are going to involve frequent thoughts of why aren't I good enough for you to love? What is wrong with me? Why can't you love me? It will keep you up at night. It will come out every time you have a couple glasses of wine, and in passive-aggressive remarks at the Thanksgiving table. It will make you hate him. My 24 meters, girlfriend 24F is rich and has never worked a day in her life. I'm not sure how I feel about this. I've been dating my girlfriend for about 5 months. From the beginning I knew she was wealthier than me because she doesn't have a roommate and has a new car. She told me she worked at a company nearby. Well, last week I met her parents, and a few days ago she told me that she's been lying to me. She's way richer than she let on. The apartment is a fake apartment. Not in the sense that she doesn't have the lease, but she doesn't live there. She pays for an entire apartment just to seem poorer than she is. She lives in an ungodly large house, and her car isn't her normal car. She normally drives a Porsche, and she doesn't work at the company. Her dad is the CEO. She doesn't work at all. I talked to her a bit more on how her finances work, and here's basically how she explained it to me. She has more than I'll ever likely make in her name, in her accounts, but she for the most part just sends her credit card bills to her dad. So she basically has uncapped spendings. She went to college just for fun. There were some signs that she was lying, but I sort of ignored them. Her car seemed unused and her apartment seemed too clean and empty to be used. But she said she was a neat freak and hires a cleaning service, so I just took her at her word. She says during the day she just does basically whatever she wants. Sometimes she'll play video games all day, sometimes she'll go out with friends, sometimes she'll just take a day trip. Just whatever her heart desires. I can't imagine living like that. I mean, it seems like a dream. She's literally never worked before, not even a summer job. She's really sweet and we share a lot of interests, but I don't know if I can be with someone who literally has never had a stressor of any meaning, because she'll always have enough money to buy her way out of a situation. Plus I have no clue how it would work long term. If we got married, would I still work? I'm already feeling resentful that she just does fuck all during the day and I'm working. I have no clue what to do. We've been doing really well up until this point. Do you love her? Then stay with her. It shouldn't matter what money she has/doesn't have. The reason she probably lied to you is because she wanted to make sure you liked her for her, not for her money. Sounds cheesy and cliche, but that's probably what happened. This is a tactic many mega-rich people use. They bring potential partners to their fake apartment to see if the person genuinely likes them and isn't using them for money. Once they're comfortable that you're a genuine person, they let you see the truth. I think you have a keeper. Greed. If she took Op home to meet her parents, she's decided he's a keeper. She's no longer worried that he's only going to stay for her money. That said, this doesn't address Op's problem, that he resents her for not having any real-world problems, and he doesn't know if he can be with someone who will never understand the reality he, and everyone else, faces. I'm guessing at this point she would be entirely comfortable subsidizing Op and enabling him to live the life she's living, but Op sounds like the kind of guy who'd never be comfortable living that life. I'd start asking her questions, such as her opinions on the state of the world, and her parents' opinions. Could he use this new wealth/power to do some kind of social good? Are they on the same page politically? If she's totally clueless but prefers to stay that way, or even after getting a clue decides she doesn't care about the 99%, then he's going to end up hating her with a passion that no money will compensate for. Enjoyed the relationship, never ask her for money. If you like her, stay. I don't blame her for not being upfront about her finances, probably to protect herself. The gap between your socioeconomic classes might eventually end your relationship, but that's fine. Relationships don't last for a million reasons less interesting than this one. Don't prejudge it. Here is my advice, as someone with a few decades more life experience than you. Enjoy this experience, and learn from it. You have a rare chance to see the life of the 1%. Try to be non-judgmental. Pretend she's a foreigner who has strange customs if you want to, because she essentially is. Her life might sound like a dream, but it has costs as well. Most people will never see either side of this equation. There is so much you can learn here. Her life might sound like a dream, but it has costs as well. It's very telling that she has a normal apartment and a normal car, and presented herself as having a job. It sounds like she's worried about people prejudging her and or only being interested in her for her money. That's a very, very valid concern. She may be looking for somebody who values her, rather than her money, and if she's truly that rich, finding a love match rather than a I love your money match can be very difficult. Plus the gene pool of people with the same level of wealth as her is fairly small, and she may not like any of them. And they could still be after her for her money, not for her. My 18F stepbrother, 20M, wrote creepy sex stories with us as the main characters. My mom and dad got divorced 4 years ago. After the divorce, my mom quickly found a new guy and dragged me halfway across the country to marry him. Now I live with him and his son David together in his house. I always found David a bit weird and strange. He is more of a loner and hasn't really any friends, so I tried to be friendly to him. I pretended to show interest in his hobbies and gave him fashion advice. But I guess this was a mistake since he started making awkward jokes about how weird it would be if we started dating. He also started to give me unwanted compliments and began acting really bitter towards my boyfriend. I talked to him about this and put an end to this, or so I thought. Yesterday I texted him to ask if I could move a series from his hard drive onto my laptop, and he told me where to find his hard drive. It wasn't where he said it would be, so I looked through his desk and found what I thought was the same hard drive. I plugged it into my laptop and quickly realized it wasn't the same one that he kept the series on. It only had one folder titled Sex Stories. At that point, I should have stopped looking, but I didn't. I know snooping is wrong and I really have no excuse. As it turned out, the folder contained over 30 sex stories my stepbrother wrote himself. I didn't read all of them, but the few I read all followed more or less the same pattern. The protagonist, who resembles my stepbrother, has a crush on his stepsister who looks exactly like me. The protagonist is a great guy and not like all these awful guys who don't respect her or women in general, but his stepsister won't see it until some bullshit/tea happens. Stepsister's BF dumps her for another girl and she finds comfort in her stepbrother's arms, or stepsister's BF leaves her shortly before prom and she is forced to go with her stepbrother but finds out how great he is, or he saves his stepsister from a drunk in a bar. You get the idea. Then they proceed to have the greatest sex ever and his stepsister falls in love with him and finally sees what a great guy he is. This whole stuff was truly creepy and freaked the fuck out of me. I got genuinely scared of my stepbrother, but when I told my parents about this they didn't really seem to care and just told him to delete the stories. I got really angry at my parents for not taking my worries seriously. I packed my things and left to stay with my best friend. I don't know where to go from here. What should I do next? Too long didn't read. My stepbrother wrote creepy sex stories with us as the main characters.